We almost 3 hours in deep over here, man. Yeah, pull up this motherfucker real quick. Okay, fuck it. Let's do the Darkest Family Guy episode. Anthem TV. What episode is this? I've seen damn near every episode of Family Guy.
Make your browser fast. Make your browser safe. Make your browser Chrome. Choose Google Chrome for your computer.
Enfamil NeuroPro has MFGM components to support your baby's brain development. Try today.
In the early 2000s, a literal cartoon war broke out. Writers of The Simpsons, South Park, King of the Hill, and Ren and Stimpy were all attacking Seth MacFarlane's Family Guy. But it's not hard to see why they were upset. Family Guy was successful by repeating the same lazy comedic formula over and over again for decades, leading to 9 Primetime Emmy Awards and even a Grammy nomination. With tensions at an all-time high against Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane finally decided to respond to the criticism. And as a result, he created one of the most controversial episodes in animation history. It was so bad that the Fox network refused to air it on live TV, and many lost respect for Seth MacFarlane forever.
What about South Park? They can go to hell.
Seth MacFarlane had a dark sense of humor, and he wanted to push the boundaries in the animation industry. As a kid, he was obsessed with cartoons like the Flintstones and Woody Woodpecker. He would spend hours drawing and studying these classic animated shows. By the time he was 9, he was already publishing a weekly comic strip for his local newspaper. But unlike other aspiring animators who were writing kid-friendly cartoons, MacFarlane's humor was intentionally offensive. He wasn't interested in heartwarming stories. He wanted to stir the pot with edgy jokes.
Did he get in any trouble for his drawing?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
He was the cartoonist for the school paper, and the character in his cartoon is taking communion. The comment underneath said, "Could I have fries with that, please?"
And Seth can still remember how a local priest reacted to that cartoon. Dear Seth, shame on you for insulting the Almighty God and those who love him.
After studying animation at the Rhode Island School of Design, MacFarlane caught the attention of Hanna-Barbera Productions with his latest film, Life of Larry.
Is it too much for a kid to just call his parents if he's going to be out late? You know, I mean, especially in a city like this, it ain't safe, you know, Lois. I mean, even in this apartment. I mean, some nut in his underpants could just walk in off the street, bang on the door, and demand God knows what.
You guys have any Cheez-Its?
Honey, I think we should move.
During his time at Hanna-Barbera, he helped write and animate legendary cartoons like Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Laboratory. And while most animators work behind the scenes for years before ever getting the opportunity to share their own projects, MacFarlane just kind of skipped the line. He pitched a crude, low-budget cartoon about a dysfunctional family featuring an alcoholic dad, a talking dog, and a violent baby to various networks, and Fox took a gamble on him. In 1999, Family Guy was born, making Seth MacFarlane the youngest showrunner in television history. But what nobody knew at the time was that this show would go on to change the animation landscape and make Seth one of the most hated men in the industry. Over the years, Family Guy has been called many things from iconic to offensive, but if there's one word that keeps coming up, it's lazy. I enjoy Family Guy because it's something you can watch and laugh at without thinking. It has a formula, and that formula is easy to digest and laugh at without needing to pay attention. It's a good background show, something to listen to when doing something else. If you're going to expect a story, don't try to expect it from Family Guy. That's missing the point. Much of the criticism towards Family Guy is that the show has a repetitive formula, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. A large amount of the episodes are basically Peter does something stupid, Brian and Stewie go on some weird side quest, Meg gets bullied for no reason, and every few minutes they put in a random cutaway gag that has absolutely nothing to do with the story.
I thought I could deal with being blind at first, but I don't know. I haven't felt this out of place since that week I lived with Superman.
We must stop Lex Luthor before he irradiates the world's supply of gold.
Hi, sorry. I know you got a meeting going on, but we are officially running low on Mr. Pibb and Cheez-Its. Just putting it out there. If you head into the store later, 800-mile drive for me, like 5 seconds for you.
Critics believe Family Guy doesn't rely on good storytelling or deep character arcs and instead fires off quick, easy, and pointless jokes. Some hit, some miss, but it doesn't really matter because the show moves so fast that nobody has time to care. Family Guy's cutaway gags used to enhance the quality of the overall episode, making the show's style unique. But over time, they stopped being objectively funny and became random for the sake of being random.
Peter, when did you become so polite?
Oh, I've been hanging out with Caillou's beta dad. In fact, I'm meeting him at the park to eat unsalted saltines on the swings. I feel like you're wearing what Rachel Maddow would wear to a pumpkin patch.
As the years went on, many thought that the show was using these gags as a way to fill up their time slot and maybe make up for poor writing. We know for sure this is how The Simpsons creator Matt Groening felt, because he did not shy away from blatantly making fun of Family Guy in front of their millions of viewers. At the start of 1999, Family Guy made its debut on Fox, while The Simpsons was already on its 11th season. Immediately, the two shows were competing for viewers on the same network, with Family Guy pulling similar numbers to The Simpsons. The Simpsons officially ignited the beef in the episode Treehouse of Horror. In the episode, Homer discovers how to clone himself, but his attempts were not perfect. Some of the clones came out looking off. As the camera pans across the field of cloned Homers, one of them looks like Peter Griffin. Seth MacFarlane realized that this was Groening accusing Peter Griffin of being a copy of Homer Simpson, and that accusation is not too far from the truth. The Simpsons pioneered adult animation in the mainstream, proving that animated shows could appeal to more than just kids and can oftentimes be edgy and controversial. And the genius behind the show was Matt Groening. Unlike Seth MacFarlane, who had a degree in animation, Matt Groening was just a self-taught hobbyist trying to make ends meet with his cartoons. In the late 70s, he was living in Los Angeles, barely scraping by, drawing and selling his own self-published magazine called Life in Hell. After his cartoon got the attention of Hollywood producer James Brooks, who produced talk shows and small TV shows, he asked Groening to make short animated skits for The Tracy Ullman Show, which resulted in Groening creating a batch of characters for these segments called The Simpsons.
Here we have Bart Simpson, the young lad who captured the notorious candy store bandit. How does it feel to be a hero, Bart?
Pretty damn good, Phil.
Your family must be proud of you right now.
I bet they're jumping up and down.
What started out as shorts on a sketch comedy show in 1987 quickly turned into a full-length series by 1989. And from the moment it premiered, it was an instant cultural sensation. The Simpsons wasn't just another cartoon, it was the cartoon. The show took the classic family sitcom formula seen in popular shows like The Cosby Show and flipped it on its head. Instead of a picture-perfect suburban family, you had Homer, who is a beer-drinking, insane father that often physically abuses his son. Marge is a tired mother constantly trying to hold the family together. Bart is a preteen-aged menace that lives to cause chaos. Lisa is a misunderstood genius in a messed-up family. And Maggie is a baby who doesn't talk too much but has a lot of personality. And not to mention the people of Springfield, which is filled with seemingly an endless list of side characters that fans would slowly get to know over the years, such as Ned Flanders, Krusty the Clown, Sideshow Bob, Snake, Professor Frank, and so many others. What made The Simpsons revolutionary was how it could go from making fun of politics and pop culture to having genuine interactions that made the characters feel real. Like, these weren't just wacky cartoon characters, they represented people that you knew in your real life. It wasn't just about gag humor, it was about telling great stories that happened to be hilarious, and it worked. By the early 90s, The Simpsons was the most watched show on television, with viewership peaking at 15 to 20 million viewers per episode. Family Guy, on the other hand, was canceled twice in its first 3 seasons, probably because many people felt it was the inferior copy of The Simpsons. However, they came back stronger than ever due to massive DVD sales and high ratings on reruns. The senior vice president of Fox Home Entertainment said, Family Guy had proved an unexpected success on DVD as well. The first boxed set of episodes has sold 1.55 million, ranking number 3 among television shows behind the first season of The Simpsons on Fox and Chappelle's Show on Comedy Central. After the show came back on air in 2005, it dominated, with the 4th season averaging 7.9 million viewers per episode, which at the time was more than twice as many viewers as South Park. And looking back on season 4, it's easy to see why it performed so well.
He takes the beam. The spectators hold their breath, as Stewie Griffin is America's last hope to take home the gold. Oh, did you see that, Mitch? I sure did, Kathy. That was impressive.
Season 4 is called by some peak Family Guy. It was paced well, funny, and just the right amount of offensive. The cutaways were tasteful, adding to the chaos without taking away from the story. And during Family Guy's resurgence in popularity, The Simpsons writers decided it was the perfect time to diss them once again. In Season 17, Episode 8 of The Simpsons, 2 Italian police officers are flipping through a book of known criminals. As they skip through the mugshots, you can see a picture of Peter Griffin with the crime of plagiarismo, which means plagiarism in Italian. The diss could not be more clear, again claiming that Family Guy is stealing the premise of The Simpsons. They also threw a bonus jab in at American Dad, which is Seth MacFarlane's other show, essentially saying they are a copy of a copy. And while these jabs feel like The Simpsons play fighting with Family Guy, South Park came out of nowhere and dropped an absolute bomb on them. A diss that was so brutal that multiple writers in the animation industry personally thanked them for attacking MacFarlane. Matt Stone and Trey Parker were just 2 film school kids from the University of Colorado who couldn't care less about what other people thought of their humor. They both believed that comedy could be as offensive and brutally honest as possible.
Odin Valhalla Rising, now available on mobile and PC, exclusively with Google Play Games.
While also having a great story. In 1992, Matt and Trey met on the set of a student project. To pass time in between takes, they would do voices for each other trying to make the other one laugh, and they instantly became best friends.
Into eating something? Oh, yeah. That's a cartoon feature that's... That's a cartoon feature and asparagus is not the same thing we have.
If you want to stream, like the stream now.
Cartoon feces about to come out of my...
If you want to see what I'm watching, I'll click on my page to my last stream. We're doing desktop.
Hold on, Kaiser. I believe in you.
At the end of every semester, the film department put on a student screening, and since it was right before Christmas, they needed something Christmassy. So Matt and Trey decided to use construction paper cutouts to animate characters and make their first short together called Jesus vs. Frosty, which would lay the foundation for what we now know as South Park. After college, both Matt and Trey moved to LA, where they would meet Fox executive Brian Graden at a screening of their indie film, Cannibal the Musical. Brian loved their style so much, he decided to help spread their work around the industry. After some back-and-forth negotiations with companies like Fox and MTV, Comedy Central decided to greenlight the first episode of South Park. Although it is still in the adult animation genre, South Park takes a different approach than Family Guy and The Simpsons. South Park is all about creativity and unpredictability. One week, the elementary-aged kids are dealing with normal school drama, and the next, they're fighting a war against gnomes stealing people's underwear. And yet, that's still not even the craziest situation these kids have gotten into.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Scott? I call it Mr. and Mrs. Tenorman chili. Oh my God! Oh my God! Yeah. I made you eat your parents.
South Park instantly turned Comedy Central from a struggling cable network to a network powerhouse, pulling in between 3.1 and 5.5 million viewers per episode. By season 2, it was breaking records. On April 22nd, 1998, the episode Cartman's Mom is Still a Dirty pulled in 6.2 million viewers, making it the highest rated non-sports show in cable history at the time. To put it into perspective, 8 of the 10 most watched shows on cable that spring were South Park episodes.
Damn.
In just over 1 year, Trey Parker and Matt Stone took over cable TV. They also developed a seething hatred for Family Guy. When asked about how he feels about Seth MacFarlane's empire, Trey Parker said, "There's more and more stuff every day finding its way onto American television that I think is really great. But then you get this bubblegum shit that's just like, by the book. What we call 9 to 5 comedy writers. They mostly have families and kids, and that's the most important thing. And then they go into work and write comedy, and when it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go. It's gag humor. And gag humor drives us crazy, where it's just like, here's a gag, here's a gag. It's got nothing to do with what's going on in the show. Just like, here's a gag. And anyone who writes comedy knows that that is the very easiest, simplest thing to do, and you don't really need any talent to do it. You just need to learn the craft and do it. Similar frustrations were expressed by John Kricfalusi, the creator of the iconic cartoon Ren and Stimpy. If you're a kid wanting to be a cartoonist today, and you're looking at Family Guy, you don't have to aim very high. You can draw Family Guy when you're 10 years old. You don't have to get any better than that to become a professional cartoonist. The standards are extremely low. Tensions in the animation industry were at an all-time high, with more people speaking out against Family Guy than ever. So in 2006, Matt and Trey decided to escalate the tension to a full-blown war. South Park released a 2-part episode titled Cartoon Wars. In the episode, Cartman really wants to sabotage Family Guy because he hates their lazy gag writing. As Cartman arrives to the Fox Network writing room, he is shocked to learn that Family Guy is written by manatees who pick random idea balls from a tank. Each ball contains a verb, noun, or pop culture reference, which the manatees choose an idea ball and swim it over to the joke combine. South Park essentially proves how formulaic and ridiculous Family Guy jokes are by assembling 5 idea balls that say laundry, date, winning, Mexico, Gary Coleman.
Peter, you didn't do the laundry today.
You think that's bad? Remember the time I won a date to Mexico with Gary Coleman?
¿Qué pasa, señors? What you talking about, Willis?
When this episode released, millions of people around the world witnessed South Park brutally minimize Family Guy's value to the entertainment industry. And it turns out, Matt Stone and Trey Parker were not the only ones in the industry who hated Family Guy.
After the first part aired, we got calls from people at The Simpsons saying thank you, because they actually hate Family Guy more than we do, even though they won't say it. And then we got calls from people that work on King of the Hill saying, they said, quote, "You're doing God's work by ripping on Family Guy." And like, because Family Guy is kind of this, it's like the Justin Timberlake thing. It's like when you're a musician and you're doing your stuff and you're working hard and you're trying to do art, and then Justin Timberlake comes along and just rakes in all the cash and everyone thinks he's awesome. You're like, dude, come on, that's not that good.
Up until this point, MacFarlane never really responded to the jabs and criticism towards his show, but this attack was too big to ignore. Ironically, he didn't fire back at South Park. Instead, he shifted his anger towards his original haters, The Simpsons. However, many believe he took it too far, and this joke nearly destroyed his reputation forever. In a 2007 Family Guy episode titled Moving Out, at the bottom of the screen appears a bumper for The Simpsons, with a miniature Marge waving to the audience. Because both shows air on Fox, this could have easily been mistaken for a genuine promo. Then miniature Quagmire runs over and attempts to essay Marge. She fights him off and dashes off screen, but then Quagmire, with his pants around his ankles, chases after her. Then it cuts to a shot outside of the Simpsons' home where we can hear Marge and Quagmire having sex in the parents' bedroom. Homer then walks in, catching them, shocked. And from there, you can hear Quagmire shoot and kill the entire Simpsons family.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You shot my homie! I'm calling the police!
So, Simpsons, R-word, and murder. Yeah, that got dark real fast.
Damn.
This scene was so brutal, it actually never made it to live TV. The only reason we ever got to see this scene was because it was included in the Family Guy DVD box set. Also on the DVD, Seth MacFarlane does a director's commentary where he discusses this specific scene, doubling down that he feels this joke was not too far and it should have been aired.
I'm not going to be diplomatic. Because
Oh
what happened here was fucking bullshit. This is a gag I got a call from the network saying, you can't do this. You cannot do this gag. And with The Simpsons, and I said, why not? They've made fun of Family Guy like 5 times, which which they're entitled to do. I mean, they make fun of everyone, and so do we. So what's why can't we take a little shot at them? And they said, well, because we want to end the feud. And I said, well, what feud? What are you talking about? I had talked with Matt Groening, who has a wonderful sense of humor about this stuff, and there's no feud, and plus it's.
We actually have had a couple of writers, Simpson writers, who have written for Family Guy, Rich Appel.
Yeah. I mean, it's they've taken many shots at us again, all of which have been funny. And Fox said, well, this seems a little personal, and I said, well, how could it be any more personal than a picture of Peter Griffin on a wanted poster that says plagiarist?
They made fun of me. Why can't I make fun of them? Seth, you shot a baby. Likely due to the network just wanting the beef to be over, both Family Guy and The Simpsons stopped taking jabs at each other for a while. Allegedly, Matt Groening was upset with Seth for many years after this, and although Seth MacFarlane never apologized for this explosive joke, he has been very honest about his admiration for The Simpsons and Matt Groening.
And the Simpsons guys don't like you either, right?
That's more of a friendly rivalry. They take shots at us, we take shots at them. Matt Groening is a friend of mine. He's a great guy. That's more of like a, all in good fun kind of thing.
He even wrote a line in a Family Guy episode essentially admitting to stealing from The Simpsons.
Get up! You're on my side of the bed. Peter!
We act like we didn't take a lot from The Simpsons, but we took a lot from The Simpsons.
They seemed to make amends by doing an official Simpsons and Family Guy crossover episode in 2014. However, there was still a tiny bit of tension behind the scenes. In the end, everyone from both camps loved it, except maybe Seth MacFarlane. The running theme of the episode was that Family Guy stole everything from The Simpsons. They made this point over and over and over and over. Apparently, at some point, Seth told his staff, guys, enough. It's clear that Seth MacFarlane does hold The Simpsons in high regard, but he also believes he deserves his respect. After all, Family Guy did win 9 Primetime Emmy Awards and is loved by millions of fans around the world. And it's actually because of this success that the South Park creators are jealous and hold resentment towards him. With Trey Parker saying, the biggest thing is that you put everything into your show. It's like you've got to die for it. When you're an artist, you've got to say to yourself, this is all that matters. And if it kills me, so be it. And then you have the Family Guy writing staff who come in 9 to 5, write their gags, and go home. But what I absolutely must say to you is that this totally, purely 100% completely comes from a place of jealousy, because when we're sitting there in our room, it's 3 in the morning and we're 12 hours from having to air, and we don't have like a third act, wondering why we do this to ourselves. We're just totally jealous of their job. At the end of the day, these shows are all completely different styles of comedy, and whichever one you love the most is just down to personal preference, and they all will be considered legendary in the history of adult animation.
Facts. Damn, I ain't realizing.
Make your browser fast.
That's crazy. Entitled Actors Destroy the Disney classic.
Disney was warned for years that their live-action remake of Snow White would be an abysmal failure. They ignored the warnings and instead made every wrong decision possible, leading to a box office bomb. Theaters around the world are empty. The film sold 50% less than they projected. It earned a 1.6 out of 10 star rating on IMDb, a 20% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The CGI dwarves will give you nightmares, and the little people they replaced with CGI have filed a class action lawsuit against Disney. Walt Disney himself is turning in his grave because he personally requested that the company should never change, alter, or remake Snow White, but they did it anyway by casting Rachel Zegler, who insisted that they change the entire film to make it more politically correct. Rachel called the original Prince Charming a stalker, insisted that Snow White was not yearning for love, but actually dreamed of being a leader. Rachel also demanded she be paid more for, quote, standing in a dress for 18 hours. Zegler created so much controversy that Disney had to hire a personal security detail for her co-star Gal Gadot because of the countless death threats she was receiving. This movie is an absolute dumpster fire, and Rachel's response to the film bombing proved that everyone's suspicions about her were correct.
I'm a narcissist.
And yet none of that has anything to do with why people were suspicious about Rachel Zegler in the first place. In 2018, Rachel's friend sent her a tweet about an open casting call for Steven Spielberg's film adaptation of West Side Story. So 16-year-old Zegler recorded and submitted an audition tape.
Bernardo and Anita argue all morning about a fight that's gonna happen tonight.
Now, she was definitely a promising young talent. She spent her childhood acting in countless plays and developed an impressive singing voice. Rachel was just one of 30,000 who auditioned for the role of Maria. Without any professional acting experience, an agent, or connections in Hollywood, she was selected for the lead role. Her performance earned critical acclaim, and she went on to win the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. The industry plant accusations were formed because some people simply do not believe that a no-name actor could get this lucky. She was basically hand-selected by Steven Spielberg. Then again, with the entertainment industry being flooded with nepo babies and people born into immense wealth, Rachel being essentially a random girl from New Jersey securing an A-list role actually might be a step in the right direction for Hollywood. However, they may have chose the wrong girl, because her inability to keep her politically charged opinions to herself started to cause problems for Disney executives. As if West Side Story wasn't already a massive introduction to Hollywood, her next role was even bigger, one that could set her up for a lifetime of success, and that was being cast as Snow White in Disney's live-action remake of the classic. Rachel chose to make this monumental announcement on Twitter where she wrote, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." Rachel deleted this tweet shortly after sending it out to the world. However, the reason she brought up her skin color in the first place was to address the criticism she was receiving online. In the original fairy tale and the 1937 animated film, Snow White is depicted as having skin as white as snow. It is quite literally the inception of the princess's identity. But Rachel Zegler is of Colombian descent and has more of an olive skin tone. Now, there definitely were some extreme takes, suggesting that Disney is evil and only casting POC characters to cause outrage. There were also some blatantly racist takes, but most people were just genuinely confused why Snow White wasn't going to be white. And this does seem to be a recurring theme for Disney these days. The original 1989 animation of The Little Mermaid depicted Ariel as a white woman, whereas the 2023 live-action remake cast Halle Bailey as Ariel, who is African American. And yes, this film was also accused of pandering, trying to change something that was a non-issue in the first place. However, defenders pointed out that mermaids don't have a race because they are not real. Normally, these controversies lead to failure, but the film grossed over $560 million worldwide and made a solid profit. But Zegler insisted that the Snow White remake was based on an alternative version of the story, one that doesn't have to do with her skin color. She said, "It fell back to another version of Snow White that was told in history, where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby, and so the king and queen decided to name her Snow White to remind her of her resilience. One of the core points in our film for any young woman or young person is remembering how strong you actually are. And while this may seem like a small nuance that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, it was an insight into the major changes that were coming next, because the more Zegler talked about the film, the more it seemed like it was going to be a disaster, particularly in this Variety interview where she talked about how she and the writers are giving Snow White a modern twist.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Snow White dreams of being a leader? Why not write a totally new story instead of remaking the old ones? It has nothing to do with Snow White. Zegler, there is nothing wrong with dreaming about true love. But people were not overreacting in the comments. Zegler supported
I can get why people would be upset. It don't really make sense. Of Snow White dreaming to be a fucking leader, and the whole point was for it to be Snow White and Prince Charming, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm a kid and I don't know what the fuck well, maybe, is that right though? Snow White, Prince Charming? I don't fucking remember, but damn. That's kind of dumb. What's up, dysfunctional puppies? Make sure you like the stream, bro. And make sure you tune into my click on my page and tune into my desktop stream. We doing reactions right now, broski. What you doing? Reactions. Click on my page and tune into my desktop stream. My nigga, Bratteram. I think I said your name right. Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like my stream, bro. Like the stream and subscribe.
Stripping this classic story of its roots.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Rachel's tone might come off silly to some, but it is evidently
Big
so
teeth-ass
sarcastic. Referring to Prince Charming as a stalker is inaccurate and disrespectful. We are not talking about just any Disney film. We are talking about the first ever full-length animated feature film in history. This is quite literally Walt Disney's baby. Now, people
Facts.
are already a little apprehensive towards the countless remakes of old Disney classics, but Rachel's lack of class and grace pushed anyone who was even a little open-minded away. Despite that, she continued to express her disdain for the original film.
I was scared of the original cartoon. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once, never revisited.
What you mean, huh? Dysfunctional puppies. What happened? Oh, fuck my face. Well, not fuck my face. Pause on that. That was gay as hell. I don't know why I said that. Said, what are you listening to? This. It's my dog Patrick CC. You know what I'm saying? It's about that little Snow White movie that came out, but tune in. I'm streaming. Go to click on my page, and this is my desktop stream on OBS. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all come tune in. Fuck with me. But yeah. Seems interesting. I'll listen. Yeah, for sure. It seemed interesting to me too. That's why I'm like, let me check this shit out. Let me see if it's some bullshit or something. This bitch is kind of fucking annoying, I'm not gonna lie to you. But just click on my page, bro. You'll see this shit. So now.
Snow White again.
What's interesting about Rachel claiming to be scared of the original film is that she also said the exact opposite during her press tour, showing pictures of her as a child in her Snow White dress and how she always dreamed as a little girl of being this princess. This constant flip-flopping along with her sarcastic tone just soured people's perception of her. But not only did she seem unappreciative of a Disney classic, she also made some interesting comments about her next role as Anthea in Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
What made you want to step into this world of DC heroes? I needed a job. I'm being so serious.
While yes, even actors have bills to pay and need a job to do that, some interpreted the remark as snarky and annoying. Now, to be fair, later in the interview, Rachel does go on to express her gratitude for receiving this role, considering it was only her second Hollywood film ever. But her unapologetic attitude on the red carpet continued to stir the pot, and she just kept making it worse, specifically during the writer's strike of 2023. The Writers Guild of America represents thousands of writers in film, TV, radio, and online media. They are the backbone of Hollywood's content. Despite their importance, Hollywood executives restructured the industry to drastically reduce residual payments, leaving most writers with little to no income after their work is uploaded to apps like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc. So the Guild went on a strike to renegotiate and push for higher pay. Rachel Zegler also used her voice to support the strike.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
She's like, everything people hate about this generation distilled into a single person. At this point, I'm sure you are noticing a pattern. While we hope that deep down Rachel's intentions are pure, and we hope that she truly is just trying to have an overall positive impact on the world, she has a terrible way of expressing her opinions, as her tone often comes off as disrespectful. Having 2 movies under her belt and already aggressively demanding higher pay came off extremely entitled, especially considering the strike was mostly for writers, because main characters, like Zegler, are often compensated extremely generously. By this point, her reputation was at an all-time low, and there were even rumors circulating that Disney was going to axe this film, as countless people expressed that Rachel Zegler is the sole reason that they would not go to watch the movie. But then somehow, Disney managed to make things even worse. They announced that they would be changing Snow White's 7 dwarves to the more politically correct Snow White's diverse group of magical creatures of all sizes and genders. Photos of the cast were leaked onto the internet, which sparked outrage. These look like medieval times reenactors at the local fair. Disney quickly responded and said that these were not pictures of the actual set, but nobody believed them. The only reason Disney planned on changing the dwarves in the first place was because of a comment made by Hollywood star Peter Dinklage, who felt that the new rendition of the movie was not progressive enough.
I was a little taken back by they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White,
yeah.
7 dwarves.
Sure.
So you take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I know. It makes no sense to me.
Well, so
you're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward
Oh.
story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Even though Peter Dinklage has built an illustrious Hollywood legacy with countless roles as a little person, he seemed pretty upset with Disney. They promptly responded that they would avoid reinforcing stereotypes and would be consulting with members of the dwarfism community to make the 7 characters more inclusive. Most people just looked at this as Disney once again pandering to another social issue, but what often happens when trying to please everyone for the sake of being politically correct, you end up pleasing no one.
What they're doing is pretty much you're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's 4 dwarfs.
Disney was panicking for a solution to make both sides happy, and nobody could have predicted how bad their solution to this problem would be. Instead of casting real actors, Disney decided to eliminate them and use CGI dwarves instead, which will provide enough nightmare fuel to last you the rest of 2025. The dwarves look like scary monsters, not cute, charming friends. The overuse of CGI in this film allowed them to take shortcuts. Instead of creating detailed artistic sets and costumes, they relied on animation, which made the film feel cheap, hollow, and soulless. Like, wasn't this supposed to be a live-action remake? Where's the live action? Why is there so much CGI? Why does it look like a really bad cartoon? Additionally, the significance of the dwarves to the story was drastically reduced. Grumpy and Dopey got a decent amount of screen time, while the other 5 dwarves were barely shown enough for the viewers to be able to distinguish them from one another. Ironically, all of these decisions were made to avoid backlash from the dwarfism community, and now the little people who were removed from the film are now planning a class action lawsuit against Disney for replacing them with cartoons. This is so ridiculous.
Disney might be the dumbest motherfuckers of all time. Why are you pandering to communities? So you decided, okay, we're not gonna cast any dwarves, and we're not gonna call y'all dwarves because that would be offensive to people who are dwarves. What that don't, like, that's not making no sense to me. Like, the whole point of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs is supposed to be Snow White and 7 dwarfs, not animated characters. So by y'all not including them, like, okay, we're not gonna offend them, we're just not gonna include them, and we're gonna use CGI. Now they suing y'all for not including them. Stop with the fucking overthinking, man. Like, see, that's that goofy ass woke shit, bro. Just make movies and make the shit funny. Stop pandering to communities, dummies. It's bad enough the lady's Latino that's playing the fucking Snow White, and the whole point of Snow White is that she's white, not Hispanic and brown skinned. Like, what are we doing? I don't know, bro. Disney is fucking stupid. I'm glad I kind of stopped watching at the right time.
Actress Allie Chapman, who is 3 foot 8 inches tall, said, 7 talented Little People actors could have played these roles in the live-action remake, and yet they chose to use cartoons. It's an insult and discriminatory. You ever see one of those tragic situations where it's extremely foggy and there's a traffic jam on the highway, and you have cars speeding into the fog, just crashing into each other? That is this film. And surely it couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong. Because now there was a major dispute between the two stars of the film, Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler. Fans noticed sometime between 2023 and 2024 that Gal and Rachel may have developed some tension. As you can see in this interview, Gal
Gadot is a dope ass fucking actress. Shout out to her, bro. If I'm not mistaken, she was in Fast and Furious a couple times. And she's also played in a ton of other movies. This weak ass Rachel bitch, I don't know who this is. This bitch can get the fuck out of here. You seem a little too entitled. Weak ass bitch. Fuck.
Gal is being professional, looking and smiling while Zegler is speaking. But whenever Gal is speaking, Zegler refuses to look at her, often looking down at her feet or off to the side. Their body language screams that there is tension between them, and these assumptions would be proven true. When Disney released the official trailer for Snow White, Rachel thanked the fans for their support, receiving over 120 million views in 24 hours. She used that big moment to make a political statement. And always remember, Free Palestine. While some saw this as an honorable act of solidarity, others interpreted it as a jab at her co-star. Gal Gadot is Israeli and even served in their military. Gal has been outwardly supportive of her country, specifically posting support for the IDF and civilian hostages taken during the October 7th Hamas attack. Almost immediately, Gal began getting a concerning amount of death threats. Things got so bad that Disney had to hire a personal security detail for Gadot. One of the Disney producers, Mark Platt, flew from Los Angeles to New York to have a personal crisis talk with Zegler. Platt had to remind her how much was at stake with the movie and her career before asking her to post heedfully. The son of the Disney producer was criticized online for his father trying to reprimand Zegler, to which he responded, "Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires, at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Now, Rachel Zegler cannot necessarily be held responsible for the actions of other people. After all, her and her co-star are doing the exact same thing. They are just expressing support for opposite sides. But all of this could have been avoided if they just left politics out of a children's movie. But Zegler was insistent on making her political opinion heard at any opportunity she could.
Vote for Kamala Harris. And it's actually non-negotiable. Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment,
bitch is annoying.
just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
And what better time than immediately after the election of President Donald Trump? She posted on her Instagram story, "I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leaning us towards a world I do not want to live in. Leaning us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in." She doesn't have a daughter, by the way. "Leaning us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want. Leaning us towards a world that is fearful. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke fear this morning, and I am here with you. To cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. This sent the media into an all-out frenzy, particularly conservative media,
Bitch is
who were
slow.
shocked that Disney was allowing their star to publicly condemn half the country.
Hello, Disney. You're gonna have to redo your film again. Because this woman is a pig, and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Rachel finally crossed a line. Disney was officially fed up with her and decided to take action. First, I'm assuming, they made her apologize because she redacted her comments she made about the election. From there, Zegler reportedly began working with a social media guru paid for by Disney to vet any posts before the film's March 21st debut. They essentially had someone monitoring her social media so she wasn't able to sabotage the film any further, but the damage had already been done. The film officially released in theaters worldwide on March 21st, 2025. There was a slight chance that all this negative publicity would actually draw more attention to the film, increase ticket sales, and lead to a successful debut. Unfortunately for Disney, the opposite happened. Fans knew this movie was going to suck way before it ever released, and no matter how many professional critics on Rotten Tomatoes are writing positive reviews, the fans have made their statement with a lack of support. And as a result, Snow White has suffered a disastrous opening weekend at the global box office, earning only $87.3 million worldwide, which sounds like a lot until you realize that it had a staggering $250 million production budget, which some reports suggest is actually closer to $300 million after reshoots and marketing costs. That means they had a whopping 70% loss, making it one of Disney's biggest box office bombs in recent history.
Whoa.
This performance is nearly exactly the same as The Little Mermaid. It had the same budget and had a very similar opening weekend. However, The Little Mermaid was actually a pretty good remake with positive reviews. Fans later decided to give the movie a shot, which resulted in a $569 million worldwide box office earnings. But due to the overwhelming agreement for people who actually watched the movie that it sucks, and then people straight up boycotting, I don't think Snow White's gonna get a second wind. This is a bomb. And Rachel Zegler's response to the box office failure was nothing short of delusional.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
People who already thought Zegler was a narcissist have officially confirmed their feelings after seeing this statement. They suspected she was trying to make this film about her. They suspected that she did not care for the legacy of Disney and that all she wanted was the spotlight for herself. And honestly, this response makes it seem like those assumptions are now justified. But it's a confusing response because the film was a massive flop. Like, essentially she's saying, haha, my movies are so great, you just have to line up and you have to watch them. But that's not the case. People are actually not waiting in line for this film specifically because of her. And as easy as it is to continuously blame her for the failure of this film, it's only fair to admit that Rachel Zegler's performance was actually decent. She is a great singer, and she definitely performed well considering most of what makes the film actually bad was outside of her control. Like most Disney live-action remakes, Snow White just felt a bit bland and lacked the magic of the original. The CGI looked cheap, the colors are dull and boring, the evil queen didn't feel very evil at all. These remakes often struggle to capture the same charm, making them feel like a corporate cash grab. But since Disney will lose money on this film, perhaps they won't make this same mistake going forward. But the biggest learning lesson for Disney here is that the internet outrage is not fake. When people say, hey, your main character is insufferable and I will not spend my money to see this movie, they're not lying. When people say they genuinely want politics to remain out of a children's movie, they are not lying. And when people say it's better to just invent new stories instead of alter the classics, they are not lying. The The people won, but the truth is, this film should have never been made. Walt Disney himself was extremely protective of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This was essentially his baby. Walt reportedly rejected multiple ideas for sequels, including a proposed short called Snow White Returns, and was adamant that the original story should not be altered or expanded, as he believed Snow White was a standalone masterpiece that should remain untouched, and it's extremely evident that Disney should have honored their creator's one wish.
Man, I know that man rolling in his grave right now. Pissed. They tore that man movie up like that, man. Jesus Christ. Whoever this dumb bitch is, keep her out of movies, man. Please. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but shout out to her for fucking that movie up. Stupid bitch. That little time, unfortunately. I have a little bit time till we need to go to school. Shout out to y'all, man, and y'all having to go to school, bro. I kind of feel bad that y'all do gotta go to school. After you have school and it's 12 p.m. It's 6 p.m. for me. 6 p.m.? You mean 6 a.m.? I'm guessing that's what you meant. Yeah, what I need you to do, Lion, is click on my page right now, bro, and go to my other live stream and leave a like on that joint. Leave a like on my other live stream, man. On my desktop joint. Oh, y'all, bro. Go tune in. Go leave a comment and a like on this live right here, man. I've been live for about 3.5 hours on this joint. Go to this chat and y'all go drop some comments in that joint. I greatly appreciate it. Just click on my page and you're gonna see that motherfucker. My motherfucking desktop stream, brother. Don't mind my motherfucking stand being dusty as hell. We're gonna leave a like on my desktop stream, bro. I appreciate that from y'all, man. I gotta find out how to get this chat outside of OBS. I don't know how or when I'm gonna be able to do that, but fuck it, bro. But I am gonna end this here. I appreciate y'all for tuning into my stream, man. I'm out. Come on, man. Stop my stream. What y'all doing? Unfortunately, I need to go. Shit, me too. Unfortunately, I need to go. I need to go to motherfucking sleep, nigga. What's up, boy with Nuke?
About girls giving second chances. Listen, all I'm gonna say is this. I'm not answering that because I.
Damn, I think I was just.
I'm not turning off the lights, bro. Somebody said it. They present the eviction notice as we speak. Bro, just chill, okay? Might lag a little bit. It's still ugly. Where's your face? Okay?
I hope all is good, man. Came in a while back, and your streams have been popping up lately. Appreciate that, Troy Franny. I appreciate that, brother. I don't remember your name though, but you popped in there before. Make sure you like the stream for me, broski. You in, yeah?
Before it's too late. My screen right now while I die. What do you mean before it's too late? What's the purpose of this game? Okay, chat, we have to be very quiet. I gotta find the people. Wait, chat. So what am I supposed to do exactly? I'm supposed to just find it.
I appreciate that, Troy, man. Make sure you subbed up, bro. Everybody, if you in here, make sure you sub, man.
Okay, we gotta find the missing box.
Appreciate y'all undenied support, man. Yeah, I know that shit mean the world to a nigga like me, brother.
Appreciate this. The gift to sub, man. Boys, right here. I got one. We already cooking. Already got one. Oh, you can't talk at night. Oh, I can talk right now. When it's nighttime, I gotta be quiet. Okay. So we good right now. Oh, shit. I just gotta, hey, I don't need to tutorial. I just gotta find missing bodies. That's it. One here. Oh, I can't see. Black. I didn't believe the recipe.
Love this stream. Definitely in my top 3 faves for sure, bro. One day I'm really trying to get everybody to tune into my desktop shit, bro. When I start doing desktop shit, slowly but for surely, I think I'll be able to do that, you know.
I think we're good. Oh, my, too loud.
Shout out to you though, Dysfunctional Puppets, for supporting the nigga, man. I love that shit. Y'all be coming through fucking with me. But this definitely going. It's definitely the last live stream of the day. I'm gonna take my ass to bed, get some sleep. That's so I can get up tomorrow and do this shit all over again. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna be proud of myself. This is probably the most hours I done streamed in a day. I did 2 hours earlier. Got back on here, did a whole nother 2 hours off the phone. 3-hour desktop stream. This shit another hour right here. So what's that? Is that 10? That's 10 hours. I think. Damn. I just did my thing, man. I'm gonna drop some shorts tomorrow too, so I can get that out the way. But if you in here, make sure you like the stream, you subscribe, turn on your notice, so y'all get them lives, man. You know what I'm saying? I be needing that shit. Y'all be coming through supporting a nigga. Appreciate you, my nigga, Dysfunctional Puppies, for popping through. You was in my live earlier. For that, what, hour and a half that I was live. Well, for the 2 hours that I was live, man. Like 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it's me signing out. Love y'all, man. Make sure y'all keep supporting your boy through all my endeavors. Peace, love, and tranquility while I'm gone.